Hey, what's going on, ladies and gentlemen? I see you watching this. I see um different faces stumbling upon this right now. Thank you for tuning into the podcast. This is Robert. Great introduction. It's been a day, but regardless, we are here and we are going to be chatting with the lovely Justine Reiss, who is to my left, right?
Well,
Yeah.
I could be below you, I could be above you. Who knows in the virtual world, right, Robert?
Of course. But yeah, thank you for joining me and stopping by for today's little episode.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I know we kind of had to reschedule so many times, but at least we finally were able to make it happen. Yeah, time zones and
Absolutely. We've been
everything.
busy. We've been
Yeah.
very busy,
Oh,
Robert.
totally.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Speaking of which, this could be like a good little fun icebreaker. Like, what have you been working on as of late? Because I know we're into like the first half of 2023, it's almost over, so I just want to do a quick little, I guess, first half of the year recap of
Oh,
how
wow.
it's been
Yeah.
for you. Yeah,
Okay.
let's do it.
Fun. Well, let's see. Um, Most recently I launched a podcast too called The Voiceover Pod, where I
Nice.
have been interviewing all kinds of different people, kind of like you do as well, and in the industry, from coaches, from voice talent. I most recently had Doug Jones, who's known as the creature you probably rarely hear, although he's done quite a bit of voiceover. So you know him from Pan's Labyrinth and Hellboy and Shape of Water, one of my favorites. I had the pleasure of meeting him at an event, and he was willing to come on the podcast. But I've talked to a lot of different people, so that's been really fun, and that just launched. I am doing a lot of speaking too. I'm getting out and talking about empowerment in the voice and how we bring the voice to, even in corporate. There's been a real desire for learning what I teach students in the voiceover world to people in corporate, how to have more authentic conversations. My whole jam, honestly, Robert, is, and I think it's kind of a superpower, is helping voiceover students become more authentic in their tone and have more emotion in their tone. So that's in terms of like the coaching. I'm also getting ready to record another audiobook by the same author that I did a book called How to Make a Life, which has sold well over a couple hundred copies in audio, and I think over 5,000 copies in print and ebook. And that is by a woman by the name of Florence Reese Kraut. And we're going to work on her next book, which is already in pre sales, called Street Corner Dreams. She also happens to be my aunt, so it's been a really cool project to
Oh,
work
that's
on with
nice.
her. Yeah, it's been fun. Um, I've been doing a little bit of motion capture, which I think your audience will probably be into. I've really been learning about it, and I've met a bunch of
Oh,
amazing
I'm still
people.
learning about motion capture.
Yeah, it's really a lot. There's a lot there. It was a lot more than I thought, frankly. It's not just running around with a cool suit on and saying stuff and doing, grunts and groans. There's quite a bit of acting involved, and the people that cast it at some of these bigger, they call them the triple A games, they require a lot of training and coaching in that arena. And I used to do some stunt work. So that's one of the reasons that, hold on for 1 second. If you can riff for a second, I'm just going to
Okay.
give me one. One of the things about recording from your home studio is lots of things go on, right, Robert? Like,
Yeah.
it's just been repaired. So, um, um, I'm just telling my son to go get the car. So anyway, yes, with
Oh,
motion
okay.
capture, there were so many things to learn um, about. We had some amazing. I can pull up some of the names that we got to work with, but stunt coordinators, casting people. That was just great. Learned about like different idols. When you are doing motion capture, you have to keep coming back to an idol. For those of you that play games, Robert, I imagine you play a lot of games, right?
Oh, totally. Yep.
Right. So when that character is in that, what they call an idle, it's in that before they move, before you hit one of the
Oh,
buttons
I
for
was
them to
like,
keep the
okay,
strike. That's
Idol.
what
I was like
that's
thinking
what
of
the
American
idle is.
Idol.
Yeah, not like IDOL, but it's IDLE.
Yeah,
So
Idol animation. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
the idea being that there is a movement you have to keep coming back to. So when you are the actor in the mocap game, you've got to really always come back to this same stance. So if you imagine a creature, so we had to work on things like that. There's also things like what they call the fighting idol, where you might get ready to strike. And in your idol, there might be breath. So there's all kinds of just different crazy things. We worked with Darren Ross, who is an amazing stunt coordinator. It's worked on all kinds of things that you would know. um it was great. It was just really, really good. So I got done doing that. I've done some commercial work here and there. I don't always even remember the things that I work on because it just they come and
Oh,
go, you know.
same. Yeah.
Yeah, right, they come and go. I did
Yeah.
some spots for Taco John's not too long ago, and Taco Bell. I
Yeah.
did some weird, like, not at the same time, obviously.
Mhm.
So yeah, several different things going on. Of course, we've got the strike going on here in LA right now, which is
Oh,
affecting
wow.
work quite a bit. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. I've been doing like this is like the third interview I've done today, and I kid you not, the last two guests that I've had on mentioned the strike, so it's like, it's kind of a big deal when like
It is.
literally
Yeah.
three interviews in a row, like back to back to back.
Right.
It's like, yeah. So
Yeah,
it definitely is a big deal going about.
for sure.
Yeah, like I mean, I am in LA, so it's like yeah, watching it from the sidelines and just seeing, my friends and colleagues, and producers, anybody that you can name, like just being out there and just, I mean, I'm an optimist, so I'm just kind of hoping and praying for what will be, right for
I
the
imagine
foreseeable
it's all
future.
gonna
Yeah.
turn out well,
Yeah. Oh,
in
totally.
by
Yeah.
the fall.
I always like to be
But it's
optimistic
affecting,
about this stuff.
it's affecting
Yeah.
things. So another thing I did this year, which is kind of fun, is I made a short film,
Okay.
and we shot
Oh,
it at my
nice.
house. And half the cast was, well, most of the cast was from Philly, so they all flew in. It was very professional. And maybe I'll even give you the trailer link that you could post with the podcast. It's called Killing Hope, and it's a film noir comedy. So it's all in black and white. We just had a ball doing it. So I'm all about collaboration and community and the things that keep us moving in the direction with that. I also had the joy of doing speaking to a big makeup company yesterday about again, empowerment in the voice, and corporate is really interested in this idea of how do we show up more authentically in our tone. So I take some of the stuff that I do in master classes with voiceover students and I just transfer that to regular people, and it's been really wonderful, the reception on that and how deep we can go with people learning how to present, maybe do presentations, do content creation in a more authentic way. So that's kind of becoming a little specialty of mine.
Yep, that is amazing. We'll definitely talk a little bit about that. Um, as we go along. But let me see. Was VO always something that you wanted to do, or was this kind of like um you kind of was like doing something else, and then all of a sudden, like boom, it's kind of
Yeah,
become your
it's a
career
good
right now.
question.
Yeah,
I definitely was an actress first. I was a trained
yeah.
actress, and I always tell some stories about some of the first jobs I got, which one of the first jobs I got was right out of college. I met a guy from, this kind of ties into the motion capture stuff. I met a guy from Broadway who was choreographing fights, and he taught a class at my university, and I was graduating with my theater degree, and I just went to him when the class was over and I said, I just want to work, what can I do to make money and as a performer? And he said, oh, I'm the choreographer for the Pennsylvania Renaissance Fair, do you want to audition? So I was like, oh yeah, sure, I've eaten a turkey leg before, I'm perfectly equipped to do this. And I auditioned with my Shakespearean monologue and I was cast. And it was great training ground because we had to learn all these different dialects. We had to learn stage combat. We had to be in character all day. So we really delved into improv, which, if anybody out there is wanting to do voiceover, taking an improv class is one of the best things you can do for
Highly
yourself,
important. Yeah.
because you really want to learn how to think on your feet, trust your instincts, And so I did get to learn all these things, and really the dialect stuff was great. But I think what I was more intrigued by was the really getting into authentic character, even in an Elizabethan era. Then I went to Disney. They were hiring actors for the first time, and then they needed stunt people who could act, and they realized they had hired a bunch of stunt people that couldn't act and a bunch of actors that couldn't do stunts, and I could do both. So I started working at the Indiana Jones stunt show, and I actually made up a word, Robert, and I use it in my classes called opportune. So when you are presented with an opportune and you are prepared, that's an opportune. The problem is when you're not prepared for an opportunity, there's no opportune because you cannot take advantage of it. So my biggest advice to people is get trained, know what you're doing, so that if an opportunity comes along, you can really show up for it. And then when I was there, I met someone who was doing voiceover, and I'm like, "What's voiceover?" And he was like, "I'm going to be the next Mel Blanc," and I'm like, "Who's Mel Blanc?" And so
Oh yeah, the good
he
old Mel
came out to
Blanc. Yep.
LA, and this is someone you might know the name of. He It's D. Bradley Baker, and his first
Yep.
job was one of his first jobs, not his very first job, was Daffy Duck in Space Jam. So he really nailed his
Oh
dream.
wow.
Like he just said it and then he did it, and that was really really pretty awesome. So um uh that is what that's when I started to look into it, and I started to take classes, and I got all this great feedback, but nobody really wanted to tell me like how to do it. So I was definitely, but the classes and the training helped me. And then I made my first demo, and I had a penchant for it. Like I had a good voice that was very marketable, and I started to book jobs pretty quickly. But one of the ways I did voiceover. Sorry about that noise. It's one of the oldest voiceover uh, casting offices in the country, and I actually got a little part-time job there. And then when ladies wouldn't show up for their auditions, I had been really tasked with coaching people to give better auditions, and then I was giving great auditions. I was coaching myself, and I booked jobs. So I've done a lot of national campaigns for Toshiba, Sonicare, Starbucks, Walgreens, Red Nose Day. But my dream was doing more animation, and I finally booked my first animated feature called Monster Hunters, and I was cast as the mother of the village, and I was all excited. I'm like, okay, now I'm going to be like all the villains and all the crazy characters. I was all excited, but when it came right down to it, my voice sounded just like this. So I always tell people, if you want to do this, don't necessarily think about the crazy voices. Think about, the acting side of it and how you can base those characters in reality. So if you listen to my animation demo now, I hope that that's what you hear. And I also work with a company called Such a Voice, where we help start voiceover careers. So if you're someone who really doesn't know what to do next, you can certainly reach out to me via email or go to my link tree on my Instagram, and I'm happy to talk to you or send you a webinar so you can understand what the industry is, because it's very different than it was 20 years ago when we were running around town auditioning, and now everything's remote. So yeah, I would say it wasn't always a dream, but it's definitely been my happy place. I've never had so much fun making a paycheck. I love it. And I love how it's been able to transfer into other things that I'm doing now too.
Yeah. Do you have like any memorable like anecdotes or like any memorable experiences working on a project or like when you're collaborating with other people?
Yeah. I think one of the in terms of collaborating, like the job of looping in this industry is a very sought after, desirable job, and it's not easy to come by. But the idea of working in a group and you're filling in all the background noises, and it really is like a tight knit group of people, and that is very satisfying to work on projects like that. And also when we used to do partner reads, and you would actually be in the room with a partner. Like I think the last time I did that was for a job for Alaska Airlines. And I can't remember what the roles were, but I got to work with this other gal, and they even asked us to do improv. And it just was so fun working with another person. We don't get to do that very often in voiceover anymore. We are tasked with having to work completely on our own all the time. So, um, uh, Can you just hold on for 1 second? I don't know if you can pause this or not. Can you?
Um, sure.
Okay, I'll pick right back up.
All
Yeah,
right.
that was so much fun to be able to actually, improv with another person in the room, because when we used to audition for things in partner reads, and I don't know, Robert, do you know what I'm talking about? Now you have to just do your lines, right? You don't have someone to work with.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean by that? Yeah.
Yeah. Pretty much like if you're in the booth alone, you have to, if you're not working with somebody, like if there's not a director like on the other side, um, part of the process is like creating or just making believable choices. Because I know because if you've had experience, like I know you've done theater, so you know, like, the Meisner training and stuff like that, where you have to make stuff up, like improv. That's pretty much where the improv comes in.
But
Like,
to be
even if it
more
doesn't say it on this, yeah.
Yeah, to
I'm sorry?
be more like succinct about it, when
Yeah.
you are doing a voiceover, and this is for a commercial, for really anything, you want to create the illusion of a conversation. Acting is
Oh, yes,
reacting.
definitely.
So what I'm saying is, like,
Yeah.
back in the day, if you had a partner read, so it was like, the mom's talking to the daughter, like, I did the thing for Old Navy. It's on my website, and I was like the call-in person, and then the other person was like in a different state. And so we did actually record it together, but we were not in the same room. But this was a particular time where we were in the same room. And it's just fun. And back in the day when we would audition for partner reads, you would audition with somebody. And half the time, if you booked the spot, you'd book it with that person because you had this like fun thing going on. Um, and I think that I missed that certainly. But the idea now is really be able to create the illusion of turn every monologue into a dialogue, talk to one person. So I would say one of the fun jobs I did was actually for Taco John's. The audition was asking for and this is something we could talk about with prototypes. They were asking for a Ellen DeGeneres type or a Sarah Silverman type. So what do you think that means when they ask that, you know, in terms of being the voice talent? They don't necessarily want you to sound like that person. They want you to create the attitude of that person. So you have to really sort of think about, well, what do I get from Sarah Say? Sarcastic humor, political, throw it away. What do I get from Ellen DeGeneres? I get sort of airy, fun quality. The placement of my voice will be totally different. I think about Dory in, Finding Nemo, and that's how I distinguished those two reads. And I did book one of them. And it was just interesting. I asked the client when I was in there, like, why do you guys do that? And they just said, you know what? It's just easier for us to give you a name and let you run with it than trying to actually explain what we want. It just gets too wordy. So I hope that makes sense. But that's one of the reasons that people do, that's what clients actually word it that way versus, giving you a long-winded uh, explanation of what they actually need.
Totally. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Um, and with all that you've done over the years, like, you're doing VO full time and you also are coaching students and you do all this other stuff. Like, I've also asked, I kind of mentioned this like with another guest, but what is your like when it comes to juggling all of this stuff, because like I know you have like, you know, time to spend with the family and then you have to focus on work. So how do you balance it all out?
Oh, that's such a
Like
good
what's
question.
your
And
schedule?
yeah, what
Yeah.
is the secret of that? Well, I think
Oh yes.
having the flexibility to not be on someone else's time clock, but yet having a schedule and blocking, literally putting things in my calendar that block time. Because if I don't do that, they won't get done. And I have to even do it on, like, work on your theatrical resume, or so as long as I block time, I am able to do that. Also, having your home studio does allow you to record. I do, if I have a project like an audiobook, I might do a lot of my recording at night. Or I
Hmm.
might choose to do it in the morning. But in the morning, I tend to do more of my like other stuff that is more like auditions that need to get in or sessions that need to be done. So being able to have the flexibility to make your own schedule, but then actually making a schedule. And but as much as I put in my work stuff, I have to put in my self-care stuff. I'm a pretty spiritual person, so I have to block out time for that. I have a routine in the morning that helps keep me focused. I've become pretty dedicated meditator. In fact, I'm getting a teacher training certification in meditation to use in my work and my coaching, both in voiceover and in other things. And I have found it to be incredibly helpful. And quite frankly, one of the reasons I love to teach and coach is because I get better. I learn every time I step into a session with somebody.
Yeah.
And I don't coach our full program, so I'll do more private coaching one off. And I get to my favorite thing to do is teach our master class, which is group work. I love teaching group work. I love watching people have aha moments and teaching people how to give others feedback. So I think the answer to that question for me is schedule and blocking out time for myself as well. Because sometimes anybody out there who's a solopreneur, an entrepreneur, you learn that, the hardest thing to do is give yourself the time that you need for downtime or exercise. Sometimes you're the last thing on the list because everybody else comes first, especially for the women out there. We tend, and I do have a family, but my kids are older now. So I've gotten past that point. For younger moms and younger parents out there, this is a great job too, though, because you can still go pick them up at soccer practice and you can make your own hours. So working from home helps with that. It just takes a little bit more discipline. And sometimes I miss going into a workspace where there's other people. The pandemic taught us a lot about sitting still. In fact, I wrote a chapter in a book about it, Robert. And if you are willing, I will give you a link that people can actually sign up to get my ebook. The book is called Develop Through Darkness, and my chapter is called The Unalome Path to Serenity. And this is just in an ebook. I haven't even recorded my own chapter. How about that? But I'm going to give it to you guys. You have to just sign up to get it from me. And I'd be happy to share that with you. So I'll just put this link. And if you want to post it with the podcast, please do. And then just give me your name and your email and it will be sent to you.
Yeah. So, what do you really sorry. What do you learn the most? Like, what do you really get out of, when you're coaching with other students? What are some of the biggest things that you've learned over this whole, I guess, journey or process?
That's
Yeah.
an interesting question too. What have I learned
Yeah. What
as
have you
a
learned over the
coach?
years?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I think I've learned to have a very good radar for people's authenticity in their voice. And I've come up with some super tangible exercises that can associate pitch and placement with certain emotions. For instance, I'll try this on you. I did, and you wanted to, and you said, "I love chocolate." Give me, "I love chocolate," really excited. Can you say the words, "I love chocolate"?
I love chocolate. My bad.
Okay, now I want you to say it um, kind of scary. Give me scary, "I love chocolate." Like a creepy guy who's like creepy candy desire guy.
I love chocolate.
Okay, so for those of you listening, and maybe Robert, I'm going to ask you, where was the placement in your voice when you were excited?
I could totally feel that the placement was like up here.
Right, like
And
he's pointing up
also,
to around his
yeah,
eyeballs and his forehead. And that's exactly what I say is like, think of your voice coming out of here. So your pitch raises and
yeah,
maybe you speed up and you might also put a what on your face? A smile, right? So I love chocolate, as opposed to
yes.
when he got scary, he was like, "I love chocolate." So that placement is deeper. So in order to connect to that deeper, darker, you might go into a lower register. Now, I want you to try something else. I'm going to type this in the chat, so not anyone can
Okay,
see it, maybe except for now. I want you to do this, and your placement is going to be very similar to when you did scary.
putting it in the chat. Okay. Okay, so you want me to say it?
Yeah, now say I love chocolate with that
Mm,
emotion.
I love chocolate.
Okay, awesome. He did exactly what I tell my students to do. That was great, Robert. So what he was doing, first of all, you out there could guess what the emotion was, which he went for sexy. But the
Yes.
placement, interestingly enough, is the same as scary. It's just he raised his eyebrows. He got a little whispery. I love chocolate. And he kind of smiled. So there's these different things that we can do physically. So learning to teach this has helped me figure out some strategies that I utilize all the time. For instance, if I'm doing an audiobook, you have to go from the narrator into a character, back to the narrator, back to another character. Or one way to do like a young person entering the room is I raise my pitch. So Sally was going to the store to pick up some milk and eggs because she wanted to make a cake. But when she got there, she ran into a friend. Hi, Josie, what's going on? So I just raised my pitch. Then I might go back to the narrator, she said. Right? You have to learn how to do like quick transitions. So teaching this just helped me learn how to do it better, if that makes any sense. It's like good practice.
Definitely. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, hmm, what do you like to Okay, I want to I like to have a little bit of fun because I've mostly talked about, business and stuff. So, I
Yeah.
think I do want to start having let's ask like some fun questions. Like,
Okay.
okay, so what is it that you really like doing, like outside of work? It could be a
Oh,
hobby, it could be
outside of
something that
work.
you've picked up. Yeah, outside of
Okay.
work. Yeah.
Um, I know, and it's so fun because what we do is so fun. That question always sometimes gets me, but I love to do yoga. I love to hike. I love to get together. I'm
Oh,
going getting
yes.
together with girlfriends for sushi tonight. So
Mm.
I like to play. I just played tennis the other day, and I've played pickleball a little bit. So I like that. I love to ski. I go to the beach. I like to get
Oh,
outside.
yes, beach.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I
Gotta
love
get that
to.
sunshine. Yeah.
Yeah, totally. I like to travel. Um, and I'm lucky that I get to travel sometimes and teach voiceover. I just
Yeah.
went to New Orleans for the first time recently. Last summer, I
Oh
went to
my man,
Ireland.
I always want to go there.
Yeah, New Orleans is really fun. I'm not taking a big trip, although I am going to get to go to the Dominican Republic. I
Oh
am
my,
doing that.
wow.
Yeah, and I'm going to go to Bali next year. So I really try and I
Nice.
do a lot of spiritual work. So and which I enjoy. So like I said, I wouldn't say it's always fun, but I do meditate. And so yeah, getting outdoors and I love concerts. I love music. I like to sing. I actually was singing last night. So sometimes it might be karaoke or I really do enjoy singing. So those are the things I do for fun. I'd like to get back into it's a great question about hobbies. Hobbies are important. I used to
Yeah.
do archery. So I'd like to get back to doing some archery because I really love the idea of pulling a bow back and letting it just go. Right. And I'm a Sagittarius. So I think it's fitting. Is that enough stuff? I like to hang out with my kids too, but they're older
Oh,
and I don't
oh,
get
I
a
mean,
chance
of
to.
course.
I
Yeah.
don't get to do that very often, but I've a 19 and a
Mm,
22-year-old. So I like to
mm.
hang out with them and do stuff with them. And I took them to Ireland last summer. That was really great. We're talking
Yeah.
about maybe Hawaii. So I might get a
Yeah,
trip
that
in
would
with
be
them this
nice.
summer. Yeah.
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 Yeah, so for me, I like traveling. I would definitely I would love to get into hiking,
You
I
start
know
little.
that yeah, like my sister, she used to do hiking, so maybe I can, just, hey, like, next time you go, can you teach me, like, show me the ropes and stuff? So, yeah, but I do like going to the beach. I like eating, sleeping, and, like playing video
Napping is
games.
very nice. Yeah.
Yeah, napping. I wish I
Napping
could
is really
nap,
good.
but I'm like really active during the day, so yeah, I sleep during the night. I mean, I am a night owl, but I only really sleep late and I wake up, late. So my
Yeah,
sleep
I don't get
schedule
to
is
I
kind of,
actually
yeah,
have altered that where I really do try and get I usually have things going on during the day, but I think one of my greatest joys is watching people kind of have some aha moments by maybe me
yeah,
sharing experiences um and watching students have aha moments. And honestly, I love this work so much. So I would say a dream job for me would be, doing more motion capture, doing more animation because I do love
yeah,
creating characters. And if anybody just wants to go to my website and like listen to my animation demo, Um, I really just had a lot of fun making it. And I love watching students like really get to fly with this business and
Yeah.
try new things and explore different areas of the industry. And that it's I
Yeah.
always say every script I get, it's always fun because there's always some new challenge in it, whether it's an e-learning or a
Totally.
dubbing. Dubbing is really challenging and fun. And I've just done a little bit of it, but it's great work. This
Yeah.
is just such a fun industry because there's always something new to learn. Every script requires something different. You have to remain very flexible, and very much out of judgment about the work. So
Yeah.
really do love that.
I would totally love to direct. I'm just throwing that out there.
Yeah, directing is so fun. And I think coaching allows me to tap into that. And I agree with you. Like being able to
Yeah.
direct an animated series or something would be so much fun. So
I know, right? Yeah.
mhm.
Um, but yeah, all of this is why you really love doing this every single day. Yeah, what you just
And
mentioned.
I think anyone that gets to make money in a creative field, we are just a very lucky breed.
Yeah.
And having the belief in yourself, people get past their fears to step into it, and find a pathway. And I really have enjoyed
Yeah.
that piece of what I get to do. I feel very fortunate that I get to
Yeah.
help others do that.
Yeah. This was fun. Like I actually never did um like doing line like saying a line or just actually getting some free coaching with you during a podcast interview. So
Oh, good.
I just realized that. Yeah.
Well, if anybody's
That has not
interested,
happened.
that
Yeah.
doesn't. Okay, good. Well, I'm glad to have broken the mold on something there, Robert,
Oh yeah,
today.
yeah. I always want to find something new to, like bring something new in each interview. That's kind of what I like
Awesome.
to do. And it's mainly off the cuff. So if something surprises me in a good way, then hey, th we did something right.
We did something
We've
right.
accomplished something.
I
Yes.
love it.
So thank you for that.
Thank you for that. That was great.
Let me see. Anything else that you want to share or talk about right now? I know it's kind of tricky to actually discuss anything like that is not under
Um,
NDA, but anything you want to say, like you can also share your social media, offer some last bit of advice, anything.
yeah, I mean, I think my last bit of advice is if this is something you're curious about and you want some more information, I think Robert's a good resource and I'm a great resource. So if you want more information, I actually have an intro to voiceover webinar I could even send you. I have live webinars that I do every now and then, and I might be appearing in a city near you. I'm not doing a ton of travel right now, but if this is something you're interested in, look into it. It's not just about how you sound. That's the most important thing to know. It's not just about having a certain kind of voice. In fact, it's not at all about that. Having a captivating voice might be something that, if you sound like James Earl Jones or you sound like a certain person, or have a quality, but it's more about the quality and having a keen understanding of what the quality of is and then how to expand on the range of it is takes coaching and training. So don't skip that set step. That's my biggest advice to anyone wanting to get into this. Don't buy a microphone and just try and do it. Actually get some coaching, get some training, make professional demos. If this is for you, this is an investment, but there's no other investment I can think of that's such an investment in yourself that can turn around a financial gain. And be very clear about, you know, that you'll get something beyond just a voiceover demo or your voiceover work. You're going to grow. You're going to become more confident in your voice, in your conversations, and that will change. That could be a game changer in your relationships and in your other job. So it's very possible, and I'm happy to do an evaluation with you. After you watch a webinar, I do require watching the webinar first because I want you to understand what the industry is about. But that's my biggest piece of advice. And it allowed me to have a lot of independence, really grow my creativity, really get my creative juices flowing. And you just don't know where it's going to take you. Like I said, I made a short film, I wrote a chapter in a book. I've recorded audiobooks, I've done dubbing, I've done animation, video games, commercials. You just never know where this is going to take you. And every job is fun. So I encourage checking it out, and doing it the right way.
Yep. And you've mentioned your socials and everything else, right?
Yeah, well, let's do, yeah, I will, yes, at Justine Reiss. I'm pretty easy to find on Instagram and the Twitter and LinkedIn. And then my website is Justine Reiss Voices, and that is spelled Reiss. So, and a lot of my things are on my link tree. So if you look me up on Instagram, you'll see a lot of things on my link tree that links to my website, that links to webinars, that link the podcast, the voiceover pod with Justine Reese. We're on all the places you'll find podcasts. So, Apple and Spotify and all those places. So definitely check that out. Please leave a review and even leave some comments of things you'd like to hear on that podcast, and we'll try and make it happen. I want to talk all things voiceover, everything from sound
Yeah.
to casting to acting to how do I get into it and beyond. So, yeah, please
Yeah.
hit me up and I will follow you back.
Yep. And I guess on that note, thank you for watching the podcast. Be sure to check out Justine's stuff. Check out my stuff if you want to. I don't know. But regardless, thank you for watching, and I'll see y'all next time. And until then, stay cool, stay safe, and yeah, keep rocking on, I guess.
Rock the
And
mic,
yeah,
people. Have a great one,
rock the mics, but don't break the mics.
but
Don't do
don't break
that.
them.
Anyways, I'll see y'all later. Bye.